Hey, core reporters, welcome back to my channel. Do you remember how Jenelle Evans filed for a restraining order against her disgraced dog-killing husband, David Eason, who also happens to be unemployed? Well, it has finally been granted, according to the Ashley's Reality Roundup. This was a rather messy restraining order situation because they had gone to court 2 times in order to try to get this hearing heard, or this case heard, I should say, rather. But both times David asked for the hearing to be continued because he was looking for a lawyer. And I don't think he was actually looking for a lawyer, because David knows as well as you or I know that he has no money to pay a lawyer. So of course, it felt more as though he was stalling for more time in order to beg for more money on TikTok or whatever it might be, to be able to, I don't know, try to pay one eventually. But I think it was more so that he was trying to, talk to ChatGPT or something in order to build up a case to defend himself, because at the end of the day, he just doesn't have the budget for that, given that he is, as I mentioned earlier in this video, lacking in employment. Anyway, Jenelle showed up to court with her friend Tori, and according to the Ashley sources, the MTV cameras were not rolling, but it turned out that the restraining order was given to her on the basis that David was technically harassing her in the amount of times that he was speaking about her on social media. Mind you, the way he spoke about her online was rather disparaging. So of course that falls into the harassment category. And he had also been writing to her, I believe, like through text message an excessive amount of times. So that's basically why it was granted. And the restraining order is only active for about 6 months, which I do find to be rather short. I would be kind of pissed if I spent all this money to hire a lawyer the way that Jenelle did, and only to be granted a 6-month restraining order. 6 months is really nothing in the grand scheme of things. I would hope for something a little bit more robust than that, but I digress. Now to get to the juicy part. Because the restraining order is now active, David is now ordered by the court to surrender the weapons that he has in his possession. Now, we all know that David is nothing without weapons, right? He's a very weak man. And so that's why he needs to have all of these weapons. And that's why he needs to only allegedly hit women, children, and animals. So I think that this is going to be a big deal for him. He has always threatened anyone who came between him and his weapons. And now Jenelle has managed to do it. He needs to turn everything over. So it's going to be interesting watching him do the walk of shame in order to turn over those weapons of his. Though I do wonder if he even managed to leave with that many, because he's currently living on, or should I say squatting on, his estranged wife's boat. And there's only so much room in a boat, right? So I don't think he even has that many on him. So perhaps it's Jenelle who will have to turn them over on his behalf from the home. Although no witnesses were called to testify, according to the Ashley sources, David and Jenelle testified themselves, and there were a few discrepancies in their stories. So for example, Jenelle had told the judge that David rolled up to the house about 4 times. He said it was only twice. And one time it was with the police. There was a time where Jenelle called him after the break-in on the swamp happened. And it seemed as though Jenelle was actually reprimanded by the judge, telling her that, the dramatic antics were not going to be tolerated. This isn't some sort of like a reality television show, which obviously is a nod to her, profession. When we get into the bones of what actually the restraining order entails, it's being reported that David cannot go around Jenelle or her swamp. He can't be in contact with her, and he can't speak about her on social media, which is rather unfortunate for him, because that is what draws in the viewers for him, right? And then that allows him to beg for DoorDash from them in turn. But here's the thing. David currently is having some sort of a flirting relationship with a social media girly who he might use as his mouthpiece in order to slam Jenelle from now on. So don't be surprised if that girl starts ranting a little bit more about Jenelle and starts exposing insider information about her as well. So when it comes to their child, Ensley, the daughter that they share together, Jenelle still must allow David to see her at the very least, which is interesting because Jenelle has always said that David has made no effort to see her. So I wonder if they're going to be using some sort of co-parenting application in order to manage the communications in regards to Ensley's care. And in another blow for Jenelle, the restraining order unfortunately did not extend towards Barbara's son Jace or Janelle's son Kaiser as well. And I do find it rather alarming that the restraining order on Jace's behalf was not granted, given that David is currently facing felony child abuse charges for allegedly putting his filthy paws on Jace. I do think that he should have been granted a restraining order. But I guess the judge is thinking, hey, listen, there's already a no contact order, so why would I put this on top of it? But at the same time, in my opinion, you can never be too safe or too careful when it comes to children. So I do wish that he would have done that. In fact, I do wish that it would have extended to all children, because we know that he's very unstable, right? And he has rage issues. So now losing out on this and having the restraining order placed against him by Jenelle, and him having to turn over his weapons, which are like, his lifeblood, like he can retaliate in very ugly ways. I do believe that he has the potential for that. So I think that the judge dropped the ball in not extending the restraining order to the children. Yeah, okay, the excuse is that David's not their father, but still, just exercise caution. Jenelle is going to have to refile after 6 months if she wants to keep the restraining order going for longer. But according to the Ashley sources, the judge, quote, said that he hoped that by that time, David and Jenelle would get their act together and stop this petty stuff and focus on their kid that they have. Whoo! Not the judge calling y'all terrible parents, basically. Yikes, awkward, embarrassing. And David is very much inclined to follow this restraining order, because if not, he will be arrested and likely have to serve 48 hours in jail in the event that he violates it, which, listen, I do think he can accidentally violate it by trying to speak about her online in a roundabout way, thinking that he has outsmarted the system, but only to find out that his 3 brain cells just were not powerful enough as he eats his tomato soup in jail. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this. I do think it's wonderful that Jenelle was granted the protective order. Again, I do wish that it was extended to her children as well, because David has a history of, being rather allegedly ABUSIVE to her children and to children in general, just like he has been to animals in general. But listen, this is a starting point, and perhaps if she needs to file this again 6 months from now, she will be able to try again on behalf of her children, perhaps even some of those animals that she's got lying around in the house. I don't know. But listen, those animals and those children, quiet as it's kept, need a restraining order from her too. But listen, I've got to end the video here. That's too much. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and as usual, we'll chat. Bye, guys.